Hey Candeo kids, good to see you this morning. I was actually thinking about you this week and how special you all are, and it got me thinking, what is the most special thing about a person? Is it how tall they are? Or how smart they are? Maybe it's how strong they are? Or how many friends they have? Turn to the people around you and tell them, what is the most special thing about you? Ready? Go. All right, come back to me in 3, 2, 1, and right back here. Well, I'm sure that all those things that you said are so good. There's one thing that's so special about you that I bet you didn't even think of, and that is your name. Your name might be the most special thing about you because no one else in the whole world has the same one as you. And so, we are definitely going to get the brain juices flowing this morning, but first, we have to figure out how many letters are in your name. And whenever I forget how many letters are in my name, I just kind of do a simple pattern that helps me figure it out again. So for me, for example, my name is Drew. So I would say D-R-E-W, 4 letters. Take some time to figure out how many letters are in your name. All right, back to me in 3, 2, 1, and right back here. Did you figure it out? Good. So we're gonna get on up and get the brain juices flowing. And remember, keep in mind how many letters are in your name because it's really important that as we get the brain juices flowing, we keep that number in our heads, okay? The first thing we're gonna do is jumping jacks. And we're gonna do as many jumping jacks as there are letters in your name. So everyone's gonna do a different number, but as you do a jumping jack, you're going to spell another letter of your name. So I'll go first, then you go after me. I'll go first, then you go after me. Okay, here we go. D-R-E-W. Get it? Now it's your turn. Ready, set, go. Great job. You guys looked great. We're going to move on to our next one, okay? We're going to jump up and down as many times as there are letters in your name, all right? So I'll go first, you go after me, okay? I'll go first, you go after me. Here we go. D-R-E-W. Your turn. Ready, set, go. You guys are jumping high. Great job. We got one more activity to get the brain juices flowing and we're going to be ready for the day, okay? The last activity, we're going to spin around in a circle as many times as we have letters in our name. Now you might get a little dizzy. If you got to sit down, don't worry, okay? I'll go first, you go after me. Here I go. D-R-E-W. Whoa. Whew. Your turn. Ready, set, go. If you get dizzy, don't be afraid to sit down. Great job, guys. You can take a seat and your spot on the couch as we learn about our lesson today. Speaking of names, we have finished the book of Genesis. And in that book, there were so many names that we've had to remember. Adam and Eve and Noah and Abraham and Isaac and Esau and Jacob and Joseph. There's just so many that sometimes I have a hard time remembering all of them and keeping them straight. But as we close the book of Genesis, we're going to open this week to the book of Exodus, where you guessed it, we're going to be introduced to another character whose name was Moses. I want all of us to say Moses on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3, Moses. Now, Moses is a character that's really important to remember because as we walk through the book of Exodus, Moses is going to come up every single week as the most important character in the book. So we're going to learn about Moses today. And Moses' story starts a couple years after the end of our last story about Joseph. But also, when you're watching the video, there's another name that comes up that I want you to pay special attention to find. God Himself says what His name is, and I bet it's something that you wouldn't expect. So, watch this video, pay close attention because you know I'm going to ask you some questions afterwards about Moses and about God and what God says His name is. Check out this video.
Joseph's family lived in Egypt, and the family grew. They were known as Israelites because they came from the family of Israel.
A new Pharaoh came to power who was afraid of the Israelites. There were so many of them. The king made them slaves, but the harder they worked, the bigger their families grew.
Kill all the baby boys, Pharaoh told the Hebrew midwives. But the midwives feared God more than they feared Pharaoh. They let the boys live. Pharaoh became angrier. Throw every Hebrew baby into the Nile River, he commanded.
When Moses was born, his mother hid him away. She put her baby in a basket and set it along the banks of the Nile. His older sister Miriam stayed nearby and watched the basket. Soon Pharaoh's daughter went to the river to bathe. She found the baby in the basket and felt sorry for him. Miriam brought her mother to nurse the baby, and the princess paid Moses' mother to care for him. The princess named the baby Moses because she drew him out of the water.
Moses knew that he was born a Hebrew. He saw how his people were forced to work very hard. One day, Moses saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. Moses killed the Egyptian and ran away to a place called Midian. There, he became a shepherd. The Israelites in Egypt still cried out to God. God heard them. He planned to use Moses to answer their prayers. While Moses was with the flock in the wilderness, he saw a burning bush. The bush was on fire, but was not burning up. Moses was curious. Suddenly, God called from the bush, "Moses, Moses!" Moses replied, "Here I am." God said, "I want you to lead my people out of Egypt." "What if they ask for your name?" Moses asked. "I am who I am," God said. "Tell them I am has sent me to you." God was saying that He exists, that He never changes, and that He lives forever.
God gave Moses 3 miracles to perform to prove that He was with him. First, God turned Moses' staff into a snake. Then He made Moses' hand turn white with leprosy. Finally, God told him that if he poured water from the Nile onto the ground, it would turn into blood. "Lord," Moses said, "I am not good at speaking. Please send someone else." God was angry with him, but He agreed to send his brother Aaron with him.
God saved Moses for a special purpose, to rescue His people. The calling of Moses points to a greater calling and rescue, the call of Jesus to come to earth to save God's people from their sin. Moses and Jesus both obeyed God's commands in order to carry out His plan of salvation. Moses delivered God's people from physical captivity. Jesus delivered God's people from the captivity of sin.
What a great video. Moses' story is just crazy. I mean, the Nile River and Pharaoh's daughter and a burning bush and all of these things that happen are so cool. I can't wait for the next few weeks to dive into it. But I got a few questions from the video just like I promised. So here's the first one. How did Moses escape from Pharaoh when he was a baby? Moses' mom hid Moses in a basket and placed him in the Nile River, where he floated down the river and eventually ended up in the hands of Pharaoh's own daughter, who took Moses in to be part of their family. Here's the second question, and I told you this one was coming. What did God say his name was? Take a few seconds to talk about that with the people that you're with. When Moses asked God what his name was, God responded to tell the people, "I am has sent you." God calls himself I am because he has existed forever and he never changes. The next question I want you guys to talk about is this. What did God call Moses to do? God called Moses to save his people from slavery in the land of Egypt. Here's the last question. Moses saved God's people from slavery. What did Jesus save God's people from? Jesus saves God's people from their sin. While Moses' rescue of God's people was physical out of the land of Egypt, Jesus' rescue is spiritual, saving all of us that put our faith in him from our sin. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Remember that you are special and we miss you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. Can't wait to see you guys next week.